Hello and welcome to the Neurodivergent Normal,
Welcome.
episode 7.
Episode
We're getting through them.
7. Wow, yeah. Good evening, Photon John. How are you going?
Hi, I am sick again. I think this is my second or third episode sick, but that's winter for you,
Right.
I think.
Yeah, that's a bummer. It's going around at the moment, definitely.
Mm, mm, So I'm extra husky, which is awesome.
Yeah, right. That's
Yourself?
yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's looking forward to this episode. It still feels a bit surreal, like you said, episode 7. Doing a podcast about something I initially didn't want to admit. Doing a whole ass podcast about a thing it took me a while to come to terms with, but
Yeah,
I'm certainly owning it now, aren't I?
yeah.
Um, and yeah, so far it's been good, a good
Mm.
journey. I feel like lately, I keep seeing this meme around that says something like the economy's so bad I'm actually following my dreams, and I feel like I'm kind of living in that meme right now,
Hmm.
because I feel like I've basically been forced into entrepreneurship, not just by the autism and the fact that I'm really bad at playing corporate games and respecting arbitrary hierarchies, but also because, like, have you seen the state of the economy? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You gotta kind of make a job because there ain't any out there.
yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. None that are hiring anyway, and like I feel like in over the course of my working life, I've seen the advice from the older, more established, already comfortable people go from work hard and it will pay off to actually no it won't, but we don't care. You have to work anyway to you're getting replaced by AI. So
Well, I think it would kind of just make you'd have to suffer more to make money in a normal you know job now as a neurodivergent person who struggles in that environment.
yeah,
So I think it just makes that environment even worse because everyone's doing it tough and they know that they've got people that'll come in and suck it up more than you might be willing to do, especially if you're trying to be your authentic self.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. But I've been embracing my authentic self here, I feel like so far. So
Oh,
it's
well,
been
that'll be
good.
good for today's episode, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, which is about that.
Well, yeah. So, little background on Julia, who we're about to have in. We have known each other. I think we met on the Smashing Pumpkins message board in like the year 2000, two
Uh,
thousand and something.
yeah.
Back when message boards and forums were still a thing,
Yeah.
and just didn't meet like properly in person until 2008ish, I think.
Okay.
And we all lived together in a house with friends for a while and became, all became besties, and just come back and forth over the years. Just went back recently. Actually, we had a good catch up for a while,
Yeah.
but we've both been through that diagnosis process together, and
Uh,
we were just having such great chats about self healing and diagnosis and self acceptance, and
yeah.
um, growing not out of, but learning to cope with, I guess, the anxieties that come with masking too much and expecting things of yourself that you can't expect of yourself. And then, Julia, being a friend of mine, is obviously just a really good artist in a lot of different areas. I'll let her sort of explain that a bit more. But I think we've talked a couple of times on the podcast about the grieving process of being diagnosed, but there's also that self healing process
Yeah.
um, that I just think is really really important, um,
Yeah.
and why I really recommend diagnosis to most people. Not everyone necessarily urgently needs it, but I just think it's such a helpful tool.
Yeah.
I've a similar thing with yourself.
Yeah, it's a subject that's near and dear to me. I mean, kind of going through late diagnosis, grief, plus kind of euphoria and affirmation, plus healing, sort of all at the same time.
Mm,
Sometimes in the same day as part of a sort of triple package.
yeah.
When you and Julia first met, did you know her by her like forum name for a while? You know how everybody's got a on like website message boards, everybody had like a forum handle that um I was on a couple of message boards back in the day, and I think my name was Cornelius Unicorn on one of them.
You know what's you're about to make me a very bad friend because I'm sure she'll remember mine, but I can't remember hers. It might have been Frau Julia. Oh
Oh
no,
yeah.
no, it was just Julie.
All right.
Because Julia is Austrian, obviously, and so yeah, German, and that's why I still call her Jules to this day.
Yeah.
I think that was the first name she had when we met, and then mine was I'll let her say what it was then, but I would guess on the Smashing Pumpkins message board for a long time it was Truth's Obsessant, which isn't even a bloody word. It was just like
Uh,
something I thought sounded cool as a young, art rock goth guy.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. I really miss message boards sometimes. And like before anyone says no, Reddit is not a message board. Reddit is a cesspool.
Well, I remember.
Proper message board, chronological order. None of this algorithm bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I haven't used Reddit. I haven't messed with any of that, but I do remember like old school message boards back in the day. There was always that one troll or that one person you had to be wary of because they'd
Yeah.
always be like really mean. And now,
Mhm.
like, that's just everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Like back in the day of old school message boards, it used to be, beware of so and so. What watch out for them.
Mm-mm. Jaron Lanier is he was one of the architects of VR, virtual reality,
Yeah.
and he's one of the grandfathers of the tech industry. Back when the tech industry, remember when they used to care about things and equality and all of that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um, and he wrote this great book called 10 Reasons to Delete All of Your Social Media Accounts Right Now. And one of the
yeah.
chapters is just about how it's turning everyone into an asshole.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Highly recommend that book. It's a good read.
yeah,
But all right, shall we bring Julian?
yeah.
Cool. I think she is good to come in.
Oh,
Oh,
just a sec.
sorry. I
It's
sent that
just
we're about to let you in like half a second after I let you in. Sorry, that's my bad.
I just thought you wanted me to reply before you
Oh
actually
no,
bring
no.
me.
Great intro.
Alrighty.
Hi,
Hello.
Jules.
Hi,
Hi.
Jules.
And what was so we were just talking about Danny was asking what our message board names were
Yeah, yeah. We're
when
talking
we
about
met
this
on the Smashing
Smashing
Pumpkins
Pumpkins
board.
message board.
Was
Yeah.
yours
Yeah,
Dust Julie? Was that your first one?
yeah, I did hear the conversation, which is why
Mm,
I had to make sure I switch.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that was always my name.
yeah.
And I actually I didn't remember that old name, Truth's
Truth's Obsessant.
Obsession, now
Yeah.
that you said it. However, I think your last name, your last screen name, I think was Brundisium.
Oh yeah, the Augie March song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then before that, when I was a bit younger and edgier, it was Decadence.
Oh.
I barely understood what
Yeah,
Did
the
it?
that's
word.
right.
I
Did
barely
that?
understood what the word meant. I just thought it was cool.
I was going to ask if it reflected your state of mind at the time, or.
Yeah, I was a messed up teenager.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I haven't. I spent time on a couple of message boards back in the day, but none of them as big as the Smashing Pumpkins message board. I
It
mean,
was a
like you
beautiful
must have
place.
had some really like international conversations on that, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Mhm.
they had a big it was right around the time when they were having their last album when they broke up that first time in the year 2000.
Yeah.
They were like on their last tour, they'd released their last album and they were like doing this whole can you guess what the story of the album is because it was a big concept album and
Mm.
everyone was like picking each other's brains trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were these Flash websites that they did, and everyone was looking for the clues and the symbols
Yeah.
and what was hidden, and everyone was looking in the source code and all of that stuff to
Yeah.
And
figure it out.
still to this day I don't know if there really was a message or they were just making it up as they went along. I think they did eventually post the story one day. I was like, okay, definitely not coming at your ass.
Yeah. Did Billy Corgan ever reply to anything on the message board?
I think so. He would post every now and then, and everyone would get excited,
Oh yeah.
But I don't think he directly responded to anything. No.
Ah, right.
And we did apparently have another undercover star, which was Elijah Wood. People would say that he was on the boards.
Oh yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
if it's true, obviously, but people said this
yeah.
is Elijah Wood.
He's a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan. Cool. Well, why don't we dive into this?
Yeah.
Charles, do you want to just let the people know first what flavor of neurodivergent are you?
Yeah, well, I was diagnosed as autistic from 24 to 25 was sort of my diagnosis journey.
Yeah, and like journey wise, what was that like? Because we've spoken a bit about this, like the latter part of it, like where you finally came around and got diagnosed. But was that like a slower process even to that point beforehand, where you sort of came to the slow realization?
Um, well, I don't know about the realization. For me, it was something that, I remember, Kev, when you and I lived together, I mean, I would always get really obsessed and study everything that was going on around me and know everything about it. So there's a little clue right there, maybe. But I was like, oh, some of that feels familiar and time and again. And even you suggested it back in the day, maybe that's something for me to look in. But it never really, I don't know, it just never really seemed like, that's what it is. But I guess what really led to it was that 24 was kind of a peak burnout year for me. So for years and years, I would go into, performance, burnout, trying to recover, but never really being able to quite recover. And 24 was just sort of the peak of that. And it was recommended to me by a doctor to get tested for ADHD, actually. So I went to a psychologist about getting tested for that, and she suggested, well, maybe we should look into the autism. And then with this diagnosis, with the testing, it turned out I was super not ADHD according to that, but yeah, I came out with an autism diagnosis. So that's kind of a bit more detail about the journey, I guess. Does that
Yeah.
answer your question?
Yes. Yeah.
How long did the diagnostic process take, and what was it like? I mean, did it bring up a lot of emotions and like repressed things, or like, yeah, was it a huge
Or was it
unraveling
potentially,
process?
or was it potentially the complete opposite, where it was like everything just started to make sense already? You know what I mean? Rather
Yeah.
than making you roll backwards.
The diagnosis part was probably the most healing part of that year for me, because it really was a bad year. I was just beyond exhausted in all areas of life, physically, emotionally, professionally. Everything was kind of a little bit in shambles because I was just exhausted, I guess. And then when the diagnosis came, at first I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting tested for ADHD again. I studied everything about it and I found out everything about it. I was like, oh, yeah, maybe that's it. And then it wasn't that. That was a bit jarring, because I was like, well, this person suggested it. And I thought, maybe that's what I need to look into. And it wasn't that. And then when the autism diagnosis came, I was like, oh, okay, well, is it that? Because I feel like so many people, we run into so many people are like, oh, don't believe everything, or everyone's a bit autistic now and everyone puts it on their Instagram profile and whatever. And so I had a bit of, again, I was like, well, is this real now? So again, I spoke to my doctor and they said, yeah, you've got the diagnosis, so you can take this seriously, and you can look into finding better support. And then after I kind of went through, it wasn't a very long thing for me, the whole like going from get tested for this, actually getting an appointment, I'd say it was a couple of months. And then, standing firmly in this and saying, okay, this is something that's on a paper now, black letters on a white sheet, and then this isn't something I'm making up, it's something that a professional said and determined. I was like, okay, I'm going to take this seriously now. And that's where I feel like things really started to fall into place for me, definitely.
Yeah.
Was there this is probably quite a vague, difficult question, but what was the process like in Austria in particular? Because you guys have public health as well, right?
Yeah, generally speaking.
Difficult or expensive, or?
I wouldn't say that it was difficult. I thought it was relatively simple. So again, you need to see a doctor. You need to get a referral for it and then find an appointment with someone. For me, that all didn't take super long. Generally with any doctor, you probably always need to wait a couple of months or go for someone private and expensive and get something earlier. I can't remember the exact times and actually not the exact amounts. I ended up at a couple €100. I can't tell you now if it was 2, 3, 4, because I do get some money back as well from some of the appointments. So what it actually was at the end, I'm not sure.
It's very good compared to here.
Yeah.
It was pretty simple because once you get the referral, then I feel like you can follow it up quite, maybe not super quickly, but relatively simply.
Okay. That's not, again, that's much better than here.
What's the difference there?
Thousands of dollars.
I mean, don't forget that euros is almost twice, the Australian dollar. So
maybe,
make sure
I guess maybe closer to comparable. But I would say the process after, at least from everyone I've spoken to, after the diagnosis, support after that is even more expensive, if you want ongoing psychological support, which is why I find there's a lot of social groups and online groups for support for that around here.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. That's been my experience and the experience of multiple people I've spoken to, but sounds like it's just it is a simple process for the next step. Does that sound right?
I
To know where to
mean,
go next, like at each point.
I guess it's, you kind of have to decide what your next step is.
Yeah.
I tend to go for a lot of private healthcare because I've been a bit disappointed with a lot of public healthcare, people. So I do, regularly pay a couple €100 probably. And it's almost like with anything that's health related these days, I feel like it's that Simpsons episode where like Homer gets this brochure and it's do you remember what I mean? It's I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, you have this.
it's not the one where he eats the pufferfish, is it?
No.
I think
Homer
it
eats
might
the
be that
fugu.
one.
Oh, really?
So it's a brochure, so you're going to die, something. I think that's
Yeah, I think it's something like that. Yeah.
I mean, it's an old episode, like.
Well, people are like, so you have this now, and now here. I mean, you can get support. You can look for something. It's up to you what you're going to do now. So it's kind of a step by step looking into what helps, where do I want to go, what do I want to do with that. There's no one who says, well, here's all of these support sources or whatever. I don't know. There's very little to help you from there unless you actively look for it and organize that for yourself, I feel like.
How did you, after the diagnosis, what did you do in terms of self-care? Like, did you make any changes to your work or life so that the burnout didn't happen again in the same way?
So, I mean, generally speaking, I would say that the autism diagnosis was a huge part of that healing journey, but, there's lots of other little things, I guess, that came together for me in those years, 24, 25. But again, once I accepted, okay, this is the diagnosis, this is what it is, I studied everything that I can study about it. Everything that I could find out, and that's an ongoing journey that's probably not going to stop.
Yeah, I'm still on that journey myself. The
Yeah.
healing process and the studying process. So,
Yeah, and I feel like I started making changes. I started accepting, well, I guess I'll start with the first thing that really very quickly made a change, which was that I began to stop masking as much as I was.
yeah,
And and the reason I remember this so clearly was because all of a sudden I had these days where I'm like, wow, I can't believe how much energy I put into masking and how much more energy I
yeah,
suddenly have at my disposal, how much
yeah,
less exhausted I am within days, weeks, simply because I told some of the closest people in my life, look, this is probably, why I act this way. And I started to explain
yeah,
what I think about it all. Just with some of the closest people around me where conflict would happen and stuff like that. So that
yeah,
was, that was the first step that made such a huge difference. And I keep going from there. If you ask me about
yeah,
changes in my work, it's definitely still, it's such an ongoing process of accepting limitations,
yeah,
not just accepting, but honoring and just rearranging life, not thinking that I have to be able to do all of these things and I have to fit into all of these boxes, but to say, okay, maybe my brain just doesn't function like that. And maybe it's not even just about limitations, but it's simply accepting my brain does not function the way I tried to make it function for so many years. And I can do this differently and I can figure it out in a way that feels much healthier and much more sustainable.
yeah.
I
Because
hope I
yeah,
hope I hope it's okay for me to mention, but just having known you so many years, I know I did watch you beat yourself up so much, and I don't especially when we were much younger, I don't know that I understood. Oh, it's because you're autistic. My natural inclination was to be like, hey, you don't need to be like this to yourself. You should be kinder to yourself.
yeah,
But I was a massive hypocrite because that ended up being my problem too, and I also got diagnosed because I hit a crisis point.
yeah.
But it's absolutely freeing. Danny had a really great moment last episode
Oh, all right.
where you were talking about when once you got diagnosed, you've never been so motivated to be like, hello, here's
Yeah,
the real
hello,
me.
hello world. This is me. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, one of the things that you actually reminded me of, Julia, was one of the aspects of it that I'm always eager to explain to people is the whole clarity that goes with it. Like, I feel like I'm actually making smarter decisions now that my all my mental energy isn't put towards pretending not to be something I don't even know what I'm trying not to be. Like I feel like I can it's just easier to go, okay, well of course I have to do it this way and I can't do it this way. And like I think it's gonna be fewer lessons learned the hard way. And I mean I learned a lot of lessons the hard way, particularly throughout my 20s.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, that's something that, when people say, oh, how is a diagnosis going to help you at this stage in life? It's like, well, the clarity is, I'm still unpacking it. And I don't know that I can even properly explain it, but it kind of feels a bit like waking up I feel like I was half asleep before.
Yeah, and I think you're the first person, Julie, I've ever heard refer to it as, well, the whole energy part.
Yeah,
How much more energy you have when you're no longer, trying to fit a square peg in a round hole 24/7.
yeah,
It's bloody amazing. And I think I don't want to go too deep into it, but we've kind of alluded to how dark it can get when you are constantly trying to be that, pretend you're not a square peg in a round hole, and
yeah,
um, because you're not just trying to live up to other people's expectations. You're trying to live up to expectations you don't understand, that you don't understand why you can't meet, that don't understand why they exist, and you're having trouble understanding your own emotions and why you can't be that way, but you don't even know what that way necessarily is, and it's just this constant jumble of thoughts bubbling around in your head. You don't have time to think for yourself about yourself to even figure it out, and it can just kind of snowball
Yeah,
over
yeah.
time, and it can get quite dark.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the people pleasing as well. That was something I struggled with. But like everybody's different, and everybody's pleased by different things. And some people are just, I just think they're flat out wrong, or they're not the kind of people that I want to be like, or even want to please yet. Except that's what I trained myself to do, because I'd sort of felt like I was in the wrong all the time, and everyone else had the right idea. But enough about me.
I don't want to peg too many neurotypical people into the same group, but I think they all think that they know. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And they don't realize how different they are from each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's, yeah, I mean, to them it seems simple. They just say, oh, well, you need to be doing this, or you need to be like that, or blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, okay. And then a different neurotypical person will tell you something completely different. And you're like, and you can't really get a theme out of it. So it's not like there is a neurotypical way and a neurodivergent way to live. I think it's just everyone needs to be a bit fucking kinder to each other
Yeah, definitely.
about the fact that we're all different,
Well, and it reminds me of, actually one of the things that we talked about, Kev, when I was there. It's like we learn at such a young age that we're a bit weird, or something doesn't quite fit, and we start to embody that so much that we become so hyper aware of being weird and having to compensate for something. And I think that's this sort of goalpost that keeps moving further and further away from us. We try to be normal, whatever that is, because we just feel like something about us is a bit different and it's not quite making sense. And so, this masking, it becomes such a normal thing, and at the same time so exhausting, and at the same time also just doesn't work.
Because it's not even moving goalposts, because you're looking around, you're going, where the fuck are these goalposts you keep talking about? Like, you can't even see them.
Yeah, and it's like, there were so many occasions when I was like, okay, I'm trying to please everyone and I'm trying to do things the right way, or the conventional way, but my life is going completely to shit, so what now?
Exactly. And then you get this realization when you get diagnosed and you start living authentically and having all this extra energy and all this mental space because you're not constantly consumed with this. And yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I got a little bit like, well, fuck you. Like, I'm the happiest I've ever been, not giving a shit what you think or what you think I should be doing.
Yeah.
It was much cooler that way.
Yeah.
So just on the art, because we'll get more into like the kindness and healing stuff, but in terms of like art and photography, and we had a little interesting pre-conversation about this question. So not in like a you must have a superpower kind of way, but I think you brought up a good point where a lot of neurodivergent people have an interest-based nervous system, which is I'm not a scientist, but I'll try and say it simply. It's like it's connected to dopamine. Dopamine your brain doesn't give it to you for the same reasons or in the same ways, and that's why a lot of us have this sort of hyper focus on interests and whatnot. But I feel like that really means that you're coming at something like art from a different angle, a very unique angle, and art should be unique and different, So like I don't want to set it up too much for you, so you're not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole in terms of context. But do you feel that it not affects, but that it has like sort of can have a positive effect for you in terms of the way that you approach art? Because I know a lot of people that you've worked for, and you've done work for me. I was lucky enough to have you do an animated film clip for my first band. And everyone's minds were blown. I remember, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I came home from work one day and you're like, I created life. And I'm like, what? Was it some sort of program like Ant Colony kind of thing, was it? Am I getting that wrong?
It was some sort of algorithm because when I was in Brisbane, I was I was doing a research degree, a PhD in generative systems, and that was before all of this sort of AI stuff took off several years before then.
You're not one of the evil ones.
Sorry?
You're not one of the evil ones.
I try not to be. No, it was about, you know, generative art, and so there were some algorithms where like these pixels would move around, and then they would, you know, they would get born, and then they would die and stuff like that. I was like, holy crap, this is amazing.
The power.
And then you know, it was a few years before that where you'd like, oh, I think I've created a film clip that's never the same twice, using HTML5.
That was after, you know, that was my PhD project.
Oh, okay, right. No, but weren't you messing around with that in Villiers Street before Yoronga?
It started a bit, but it was insanely simple at that time, and yeah.
And I'll stop blowing smoke up your ass too much. But then also you've had pieces on display in like visual art pieces on display in New York. And so I guess what I'm getting at is everyone I've ever met who's interacted with you artistically has just been like, oh, I've never had an interaction like this before. The way that you look at things is so unique. So I'm getting, do you feel that that's a positive of the way your brain works? Could you even know that? I don't know.
I was not aware of the thing that you just said, that anybody said about me in that way, or maybe I'm not taking that. I'm not sure. I don't know that yet, and regardless, I don't know if this is something that I can really speak to much, because I'm just, you know, I'm not sure that I can compare it. What I can say is that my relationship to my own creativity has definitely been a difficult one. And again, that's another thing that in the last couple of years I improved on a lot. For one, by not trying to be a certain thing, achieve a certain thing, but I think the creativity and the art, I finally take it as something that I need for, you know, my soul, my mental health, my being in the world. If anything, maybe, you know, a lot of creative people and artists are neurodivergent because they need so much of that to feel like themselves. And
I think you just cracked themselves. It. I think you just cracked it. Well, because I've asked this question of every artist we've had on the podcast, and it's always been like they've struggled a bit to understand it. But I think what I'm actually getting at, or what you've just helped me realize I'm getting at, is authenticity. You know, the authenticity part helps you make better art. And I'm connecting it back to like when I was young and a vocalist, I wanted to sound like Jonathan Davis from Korn, or Billy Corgan, or, you know, whoever my favorite, Glenn Richards from Augie March. And I got kind of okay at that. When I became a singer in a really good band that was respected was when I stopped that at all, and I started leaning into and being more confident in my sound, my ability, and what I brought. And I think you finally answered the question. It's taken us 7 episodes to answer.
Yes. In terms of the actual the practice itself, I mean, I've heard things like, you know, a lot of neurodivergent people have like a processing style where they notice the finer details first. Do you have anything like that, or do you find that your perception, the way you perceive things, has influenced how you visually approach the work?
Yeah, I thought about this question, and again, I'm not entirely sure that I can speak to that. What?
Yes, I've seen it.
What have you seen?
you just notice things that other people don't.
Oh, okay.
And think to, yeah, and it's like as a positive, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So I'm all lost on this authenticity trip
Well,
now.
that
No,
settles
because it
down.
is, because you are a very unique artist, Julia, and that's what makes you good. And I think, yeah, the whole, again, tying it back to everything we're talking about, the whole diagnostic stuff and the self-acceptance stuff has just made you better and more confident to explore what goes on up here artistically.
Mm. Yeah, it makes sense. Self-acceptance and authenticity. I mean, it would seem that that would uh, make your art more authentic. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Julie doesn't accept compliments very well, but
Oh,
but I'm serious. I've you know, and I don't want to speak for you, but externally watching you, this is what it seems like. Is like part of the charm of everything that you do artistically and as a person is just how you are.
Yeah, I think, it's another ongoing journey. And again, once you stop investing so much energy into putting up some sort of front or putting so much energy into some surface or whatever, and instead you free the energy to actually, oh, what is it that I'm interested in? And we're getting back to that sort of interest-based thing. That's where I think I realized that the power and the strength of what you do lies. And I think the good artists, all the people that we admire, I don't think they're going, oh, I need to sound like this, so I need to impress this person. Usually it's the people who went against the grain and who just said, no, I still have to do this because I feel it so strongly. So I started to feel like I need to connect with what I feel, what I think, what's inside me, and not and stop trying to adapt to something. And I think
yeah.
I'm still working on that very actively right now. But yeah, I think that's the superpower, if you want to label it that.
Yeah. Wow. I'm gonna stop bothering artists with that question from now on because we've finally gotten to the to the core of it.
Yeah, I mean, I know with any kind of sustained creative project, like if I'm writing a novel or something, the subject matter or the theme generally has to be something I'm deeply interested in. Yeah,
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 same. For me, it was vocally when I realized I didn't have to sound like anyone else. I was like, oh, there's that weird thing that my voice does when I do this that I've always avoided exploring because I don't know, I didn't think that people would. But I was like, oh, but I've always kind of found it interesting that my voice makes that sound, and I
yep.
would start going after all these little nuances in my voice. And all of a sudden, people are like, "Oh, wow, you don't sound like anyone else," And that's when I had to accept compliments, truly. And I
And
was
how
just like,
good are
"Oh,
you
this,
at it?
yeah, like, yeah."
Medium?
um, uh, but no, it really. But at the very least, I know I was happier in it, and I I'm probably more able to accept comments because I was just like, oh, wow, you're complimenting me and my thought process, and that was so nice after a life of thinking, being scared to expose my real thoughts or my real personality,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, because people are just like, you're wrong, you're doing that wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, we have more questions here, but we kind of covered them all in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
You go, Danny.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, I think we were going to talk more about healing, which is a subject that's near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked a little bit in practical terms, but what does self-kindness and mean to you, and how has that helped you heal? So,
Yeah, I
like, how do
guess.
you practice that in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. How to put it into practice. Like,
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
I'm just going over my head what we already kind of touched on, because there's this whole thing about, I think another big realization for me was that, I feel like when people talk about self-kindness, loving yourself, some people go kind of like that when you talk about loving yourself because they think of people who are, narcissistic and whatnot.
yeah,
And I think what it boils down to for me is that, I think the there's a big tension for us always, like how far can we go for people before we sort of compromise ourselves, or, you know, I think everyone always has some potential to work on themselves, to question, you know, is that cool or not? I feel like one thing that we sometimes do is we constantly try to bend over backwards to make it right for other people, the people pleasing and whatnot. Yeah. And I think when I think about it now, it's like, I think it's okay to flex ourselves, you know, also when you go to the gym, you know, you go to your limits and you kind of have a look at what can I do, how can I improve there. But when you're constantly bending over backwards, you're fucking up your spine. You know? I think that's the difference. It's always a matter of nuance.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we can explore where's that area for us that is comfortable, and instead of constantly trying to be something else in a way that hurts us, there's a range there, and we can explore that range. And that, you know, if you are someone who goes to the gym, you know, you're not constantly hurting yourself. You're exploring which range is available to you on that given day. And I think it's that way when it comes to our social interactions, our mental health as well. It's not going to be the same thing every day, but there's always something you can kind of look at. I think that's become a bit of a philosophy for me.
And that can kind of lead to increased self-kindness, because through that process, when you allow someone to understand, oh, I'm sorry, that's me hurting my spine mentally, if they get upset about that, that helps you identify the people who may or may not be worth that effort, or might need to help understand, you know, you better, or might not understand you as well as you thought, because anyone who would ask you to overextend yourself like that is not being kind to you.
No, and they're never satisfied either. They like, you can bend, like the saying about how you can be a doormat for people and they'll still complain you didn't lie flat enough. I had to learn that one the hard way a couple of times.
Yeah, and I think it becomes clearer where to draw your boundaries, and say, well, you know, if that doesn't work, and that's okay. I think that's another thing about self-kindness, is to also understand that sometimes I think we're so used to being around people that, you know, whatever it might be for a given person, somebody makes you feel small or weird or whatever it might be. We're so used to feeling that we can kind of continue that dynamic as well sometimes. But the more I feel like you're in tune, this is how I am, this is, you know, these are the things that are okay for me, this is how far I can go. You can kind of break those cycles with people more easily and draw your boundaries with people. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well, but it's something that I'm experiencing where it's become clearer to me what's okay, where can I, you know, flex a bit more, bend a little more, and where is my limit.
I don't know if maybe it's not the same for everyone. For me, it was a little bit of, through the diagnosis, understanding, you know, it's okay that I have some limitations in some spaces and I can only go so far, and then finding out that some people just didn't think that was good enough, despite the fact that it's essential for my own mental health. And it was kind of like this endless positive feedback loop where I'm understanding what's good for me and who is not good for me. And it made it easier for me to say no to people when I'd spent my whole life bending over backwards for people. And so, like, I don't know, it just made me more confident in saying no in the first place.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing that I wanted to get to, but then I kind of got lost in some of these thoughts, was that I think we can also trust that there are people that we connect with and who are good for us, and that we kind of break out of that normal of being the weird one or whatever it is. There are people who meet us at, you know, the level where we're at, and we can trust that we have people that we can connect with very well and be ourselves as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
So guys, just excuse me for 2 seconds. I need to cough my guts up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Keep going.
No worries. I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, I found also my social circles have changed a lot since well, not completely, because I always made friends with people who are quite similar to me without knowing
Mm.
sort of why or what I was doing. But
Yeah.
uh, uh, intentionally hanging out with more like-minded people, it's easier to. Um, I find sometimes it's helpful sometimes to be yourself from the get-go and polarize the people who just aren't right for you. So, yeah, you might have experienced a similar thing.
Yeah, definitely. But also to accept that, I think for me, a big thing was always as well that when I wasn't vibing with people, I tried so hard to make myself vibe with people.
Yeah,
And I think these days I go more easily, look, maybe that's just not working for me either. And maybe
yeah,
that's fine, you know, maybe we don't need to, like, obviously still be friendly or try to be or whatever. But
yeah.
to just accept that you don't need to be, you know, you don't need to connect with everybody and it's fine if you don't.
Yeah. Oh, that was such a huge realization for me as well. And yeah, I guess that ties into self-kindness because you're being less externally defined by other people and their perceptions.
Mm, yeah, definitely.
Cool. It sounds like I just missed something profound.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, it's all been profound. I mean, if I do say so myself, the whole
Yeah.
podcast.
Um,
Yeah,
but
talking about changing social circles and
mm,
like post-diagnosis, no longer hanging out with people who are going to make you feel like the weird one.
mm, mm. Yeah, I think we've spoken about it a couple of times, the people you don't realize are bullying you.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
You know, that was a big one for me. I was like, oh, you've not been my friend at all these past 20 years.
yeah.
Now that I have a sense of self-worth and I can see this for itself, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I've found one sort of wonderful side effect is those people make friends with me less now. I don't know what it is. I
Mm,
don't know if I'm coming across as naturally more self-confident or if I'm just more socially aware and I can sidestep an uncomfortable friendship with, I don't know, Joey Misogynist if he's gonna like try and invite me places. I don't know. But yeah, maybe it's just reading people better from the get-go.
sorry, was I supposed to bounce off that part? Sorry, I'm just pouring myself more tea. Um, yeah, it's funny because I sort of, as I've gotten older, I've kind of and become more comfortable with myself. It's kind of two pronged. So on the one hand, I push those people away, but on the other hand, I've found it kind of easier to bring in people I kind of wouldn't. There's like a middle ground
Yeah.
that I wouldn't have after for a while after diagnosis, but now I can because I feel like I can talk to them and relate to them. So I feel like I can relate to people I couldn't before
Mm.
more readily. Um,
Yeah.
but they're just the genuine people. So that like I'm friends with a couple of people who hold diametrically opposed beliefs to me.
Yeah.
And uh, I, yeah, I'm not always just trying to bring them around to my way of thinking or whatever. Although I'm proud to say that happens sometimes. But
Yeah.
it's I can relate to people on a much more human level. So and it cuts out these people who I thought were my friends who I don't know if they like consciously realize that they can manipulate my sense of feeling like I have to please people, or whether it's just kind of, like I don't know, like a predator just sort of subconsciously identifying a weakness and going after it, but
Mm.
those people are gone so much. But
Yeah.
then there's people who I might argue with on some things, but respect me as a person a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find
Mm.
in my case, the people who cause problems down the line are sort of gone, and hopefully I'm doing something right to repel them. Hopefully that's a permanent thing. Touch wood.
You'd hope so.
Yeah, because sometimes you let people in your life who cause a lot of drama down the line, and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know about you guys, but I say to people sometimes, never underestimate what I might miss.
Yeah.
Because I shock myself sometimes, like after the fact, I'm like, how did I not see that? Um,
Mm.
so, and I wonder if that's the thing that some people could recognize and realize they could get some advantage out of is like,
Yeah.
oh, he's not even going to notice, that I'm,
Mm.
messing him around.
Mm.
Yeah, and some do it for cheap kicks. Some do it for more in-depth reasons or whatever. But
Yeah.
mm, come on, everyone doesn't need to listen to me sipping my tea.
Yeah. So Julia, what are you working on at the moment artistically?
Um, well, I've got a few things going. One is actually when I was last in Brisbane, I shot a little music video clip with our friend Brooke from the band The Saber Siren. So I've got that waiting for me right now. I did have a couple of urgent family things to attend to when I came back, so everything was kind of waiting a little bit. And another thing that I've been working on is actually to work on my own videos because I've been a YouTube editor for other people for many, many years now. And people kept telling me, oh, you should do your own videos. So I'm kind of easing into that because I'm used to being behind the camera and the screens and the computers. So actually speaking myself today as well. I hope I'm
Yeah.
doing okay today, but it's not my normal, I will say. So this is something I'm actively working on to blog and to make videos just about the topics that interest me, how my work, my art, and to kind of to bring that into a form that I can talk about and present myself as well. Just to step out into the world a bit more. I've also always got some photography projects. Yeah, so I kind of move across the visual world from photography, design, video, and there's a couple of things I'm working on there.
What's your website?
My website is juliastefan.com. I don't know if you're, yeah, linking that, but to the
BECOBE.
Yeah. I mean, it's got a very
We will link that in the video. Yeah.
it's got a memorable URL, so
Yeah.
yeah, definitely that's a plus. But yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think I just really look forward to what you do in the future, and I hope we get to do something together again.
Yeah, me too. I hope I get to
yeah,
visit you again. And I
Yeah.
missed the opportunity to photograph you guys last time, but maybe there'll be a gig on next time when I can manage to come back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last time, we didn't have a lineup or any finished songs, even though we were playing less than 2 months away. So this time, hopefully. I think, yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm you're my bestie, so I'm gonna speak well of you. But I just really admire the uniqueness of your brain in anything you like attach it to artistically. So I really look for, especially like how many years ago was it that you did that film clip for us?
Ooh. I don't know.
No way, we don't have to link that anywhere if you don't want.
I'm gonna go back and watch it myself.
I think well over 10 years because I've been back
Yeah.
in Austria for 10 years or something now.
Yeah, so I'd really like to see how you approach that now, like a clip for a new band, which is weirdly more like that old band than anything that happened in between it.
Oh yeah, cool.
Cool. Okay. Well, we're kind of at the end of the questions. I don't think there's anything wrong with finishing 6 minutes early.
You're the host. You tell me what to do.
Well, I will do the thing that I always forget to do, which is that everyone can follow us on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe on YouTube. Please like and share and all that stuff. We will be expanding in that world soon. We've just been really gathering our sea legs and learning the technical ropes. But Jules, thanks so much for coming on. Please stay on
Jules.
after we end this. I'll explain after. Cool.
Yeah, I did hear that if you say, you know, subscribe down below, it increases the likelihood that people will subscribe down below. So I'm going to try and do that now. I don't know if it works like this, but subscribe down below. Yeah. Thanks, Jules.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
See ya.
Thank you.